All personnel, evacuate Sector 7. Immediately, the Krathel Cubs are on it. Human, Commander Vexler's voice cracked. Across every speaker on Station Kadreth. His 4 vocal cords harmonizing in panic through the workshops. Observation window, a dozen species. Press their faces against the reinforced glass, watching the impossible scene inside with expressions ranging from horror to fascinated dread. Jordan didn't look up from the jump. Drive she was calibrating, yeah, I noticed, she called back, adjusting a plasma coupling with her left hand while her right scratched behind the ear of the creature perched on her shoulder. The cub, easily 40 lb of midnight blue. Scales, retractable claws, and neurotoxin glands pressed into her touch and emitted a sound somewhere between a purr and a subsonic rumble. Its sibling balanced on her other shoulder, yawned to reveal 3 rows of crystalline teeth. Jordan, Dr. Shrillix's translator screeched so loud it distorted. Do not move, those are Krathel juveniles. Last year they killed 40,000 soldiers on Practice 6. Jordan squinted at her diagnostic readout. Hey, did someone recalibrate the antimatter containment field? These readings are off. Through the comms she heard what sounded like someone fainting. The human is not responding to threat assessment. That was Lieutenant Gree, security officer. She's showing no fear response. The cubs are there. They're purring. Vexler finished, his voice hollow. Krathel cubs are purring on a human. Someone contact the Galactic Council now. Jordan finally glanced up at the window where at least 30 faces now stared at her. She recognized most of the command staff, several department heads, and was that the station's head of xenobiology having a breakdown? Okay, serious question, she said, gesturing with her wrench. Did any of you actually see how they got out of containment? Because I found them stuck in the ventilation shaft by my workshop, crying their little hearts out, crying. Shrillix's voice went up an octave. Krathel don't cry, they don't have tear ducts, they don't have emotions, they're classified as non-sentient apex predators. Yeah, well, someone should tell them that. Jordan turned back to her work. The cub on her left shoulder adjusted its position, digging claws that could pierce battle armor into the fabric of her jumpsuit like it was steadying itself. Jordan didn't even flinch, pretty sure they were scared. The vent shaft had these tiny scratch marks, and they were making this high-pitched sound. That emergency protocol Epsilon is in effect. Vexler's voice boomed. Tranquilizer team, you are authorized to whoa. Jordan spun around and both cubs lifted their heads, suddenly alert, their eyes multi-acided like insects but glowing with an inner light fixed on the door. Nobody's shooting anything. These guys just calm down. They are lethal biological weapons. Vexler snapped. Their claws secrete a neurotoxin that causes immediate paralysis, followed by, yeah, they scratched me when I pulled them out of the vent. Jordan held up her forearm, showing 3 thin lines that looked like she'd been scratched by an earth cat. Stung a bit. I put some antiseptic on it. The silence that followed was absolute. Then you're dead. Shrillix whispered, you should be dead. The neurotoxin kills within seconds. You should be. Should I? Jordan looked at her arm with mild interest. Maybe I should go to medical after I finish this jump drive. She paused. Oh, wait. Medical's probably evacuated, too. Right? A new voice cut through the channel, deeper and resonating with authority that made the cub's ears flat. This is Ambassador Krathex of The Krathel home world. I am en route to your station. Under no circumstances is anyone to approach those cubs. They are to be eliminated on sight per galactic safety protocol. Yeah, that's not happening, Jordan interrupted, scratching both cubs simultaneously. They leaned into her hands, eyes half closing in contentment. They're literally falling asleep on me. That's impossible, Krathex growled. Tell them that, Jordan said as the cub on her right shoulder yawned again and tucked its head against her neck. Through the window, Commander Vexler looked like he was having a religious experience. Someone, he said slowly, explained to me how human mechanic is wearing two of the galaxy's most dangerous predators, like shoulder ornaments while fixing a jump drive. Jordan glanced up. Pretty sure it's because I asked them nicely. Did anyone else try that? The question hung in the air. You asked them? Shrillik sounded strangled. Well, yeah, Jordan turned back to her work. Basic communication. Hey little guys. You stuck, let me help. There we go. You want to hang out while I work? And they were like, she made a chirping sound. Both cubs immediately chirped back. Every alien in the observation room took a step backward. She's communicating with them, someone whispered. Krathel. Don't communicate, Shrillik insisted. They're nonverbal. They operate on pure instinct. And the cub on Jordan's left shoulder raised its head and made a complex series of clicks and whistles directly at the observation window. I think he just called you an idiot, Jordan said cheerfully. Could be wrong, though. We've only known each other like 20 minutes. She paused. Hey, anyone seen my tin socket? I swear I left it right here in the observation room. The head of station security quietly updated his incident report to include the phrase, human has established diplomatic relations with apex predators, and wondered if early retirement was an option. The tactical team arrived in full hazmat configuration, sealed suits, energy shields, tranquilizer rifles, loaded with enough sedative to drop a cargo shuttle. They moved with military precision, forming a semicircle around the workshop entrance. The cubs lifted their heads in unison, and a low growl resonated from both of them. Jordan sighed. Guys, you're scaring them. Back up. We're scaring them, Lieutenant. Gra's voice crackled through his suits. External speakers, Mechanic Jordan. Those creatures could disembowel our entire team in under 10 seconds, only if you keep pointing weapons at them. Jordan set down her plasma welder and held up both hands in a calming gesture. Not to the tactical team, but to the cubs. They immediately quieted, though their multifaceted eyes remained fixed on the armed soldiers. See there, protecting me. It's actually kind of sweet, Vexler repeated flatly. From the observation room, the word you just used to describe Cathal juveniles was sweet. I mean, look at their little faces. Dr. Shrillik pushed his way to the front of the observation window. Data clutched in his trembling appendages. Jordan, listen to me very carefully. The neurotoxin in their claws causes immediate nervous system shut down. You've been in contact with them for, he checked his chronometer, 23 minutes. You should have been dead 22 and 2 minutes ago. Weird. Jordan scratched the left cub's chin. It leaned into her touch, eyes half closing again. Maybe Earth immune systems are different. I mean, we did evolve with like a bajillion things trying to kill us. A bajillion is not a scientific measurement, Shrillik muttered, but he was already frantically typing notes. Team 2, prepare tranquilizer sequence. Vex third. On my mark, if you trank them while they're on me, I'm going to be very annoyed, Jordan warned. The sedative is species specific, it won't affect you. It's not me I'm worried about. What if they fall and hurt themselves? The tactical team leader actually lowered his rifle slightly. You're concerned about the cubs' safety? Well, yeah, they're babies, Jordan gestured at them. Dangerous babies, but still you can't just mark. Vexthor barked. 2 tranquilizer darts hissed through the air. The cub's head snapped around with impossible speed, tracking the projectiles for a heartbeat. Jordan thought they might try to dodge, but then both darts found their marks, and the cubs made small, surprised chirping sounds. Oh, you guys okay? Jordan immediately brought her hands up to steady them. The left cub blinked slowly at her, then its eyes began to droop. The sedative takes 4 to 6 hours to work on Krathel physiology, Shrillix said, reading from his data pad. They should show minimal effects for at least both. Cubs slumped against Jordan's neck. Asleep 30 seconds, Shrillix finished. Weakly, Jordan adjusted her stance, balancing the suddenly dead weight. Creatures on her shoulders, they're heavier when they're sleeping. She looked up at the observation window. This is why my coffee got cold, isn't it? You guys all panicked and nobody thought to bring me a fresh cup. Cubs are exhibiting non-standard sedative response, someone said from the back of the observation room. Non-standard, Shrillix's voice climbed another octave. The sedative worked 50 times faster than theoretically possible. Their respiratory patterns show. He squinted at his readings. Contentment, that's not a medical state. That's not even a thing for Krathel. Jordan turned back to the jump drive, carefully adjusting her posture to keep the sleeping cubs balanced. Maybe they were just tired. Running around in ventilation shafts takes it out of you. She picked up a heavy torque wrench with one hand, the kind that usually required 2 crew members to operate, and twisted it with casual strength. The cubs didn't even shift. Vexthor's primary eyes met his secondary eyes in an expression of profound confusion. She's just continuing to work while wearing 2 sedated apex predators. Her physical strength is also anomalous. Gra observed. That torque wrench requires 80 kg of force. She's operating it one-handed while balancing approximately 90 kg of sleeping cubs. Another voice added. Jordan hummed tunelessly as she worked, occasionally reaching up to adjust a cub that was sliding slightly. The tactical team hadn't moved, their weapons still raised, but clearly uncertain what their target was supposed to be at this point. Someone call the Galactic Wildlife Authority, Vexthor said finally, and get me a xenanthropologist who specializes in humans, and maybe a psychiatrist for me. Ambassador Kurthax materialized in the observation room via emergency transport, his massive form filling half the available space. His scales were deep crimson, the color of extreme agitation in Krathel adults, and his claws were fully extended. Where are my people's offspring? He demanded, his voice a guttural rasp that made every translator in the room skip. Vexthor pointed silently through the window. Cax turned, saw Jordan adjusting a power coupling while 2 Krathel cubs dozed on her shoulders, and went completely still. That human, he said slowly, is wearing my species juveniles like shoulder ornaments. Grease applied helpfully We've been watching for 37 minutes now. Execute them, Krathax's voice was flat. Immediately. Protocol demands that any cubs who breach containment must be, yeah, no. Jordan's voice crackled through the comms. I can hear you, by the way, and nobody's executing anybody. They're sleeping. Krathax's head swiveled to face the speaker. Human, you do not understand. Cubs who exhibit aggression outside containment become uncontrollable. They must be eliminated. For the safety of they weren't being aggressive. They were scared. Jordan finally set down her tools and turned to face the window fully. The cubs shifted slightly in their sleep but didn't wake. They got stuck in a ventilation shaft. They were crying, those little scratch marks in the metal. They were trying to get out. Nobody came to help them. Krathel cubs do not cry, Krathax said, but his voice had lost some of its certainty. Tell them that. Jordan gestured at the sleeping forms. Look, I've got nieces back on Earth. Same energy, bigger claws. You don't respond to scared kids with execution orders. Dr. Shrillick stepped forward, data pad extended. Ambassador, the human has been in direct contact with the cubs for 38 minutes. She should be dead from neurotoxin exposure. Instead, she shows minor dermal irritation equivalent to. He consulted his notes. A cat scratch. What's a cat? Someone asked. Earth predator, Vexter said. I looked it up. They're about this big. He held his hands apart, and humans keep them in their homes voluntarily. Why? Nobody knows. Krex was still staring at Jordan. Your physiology makes no sense. The neurotoxin should have. Yeah, Doc already told me I should be dead. Jordan shrugged carefully, mindful of her passengers. But I'm not. The cubs are fine, and I'm almost done fixing this jump drive, so maybe we can skip the whole execute the babies thing and figure out why they got loose in the first place. The containment protocols are foolproof, Krathax insisted. Jordan raised an eyebrow. They're literally sleeping on me right now. So either your cubs are magic or your protocols need work. The ambassador's scales rippled through several colors. Kral juveniles have never shown pack behavior. They're classified as non-social apex predators. They don't bond. They don't seek comfort. They certainly don't. He gestured helplessly at the scene. Nap on other species. Well, these two do. Jordan turned back to her workstation. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to finish this calibration before. The cub on her right shoulder had woken up and was now playing with her hair, batting at the loose strands with its claws retracted. Did that cub just? Shrillick's voice trailed off. Playing. Vexter said faintly. It's playing. Krathax made a sound like grinding metal. 40 years. I've studied Krathel juvenile behavior for 40 years. They don't play. They hunt. They feed. They establish dominance hierarchies, but they do not. The other cub woke up, saw its sibling playing with Jordan's hair, and immediately joined in. Both of them were making soft chirping sounds, careful not to actually scratch her with their claws. I need to sit down, Krathax said. You are sitting down. Gra pointed out. I need to sit down more. Jordan laughed. Hey, little guys, you want to help me out here? She held up a small component. Both cubs immediately stopped playing and focused on the object with laser intensity. See this? I needed to go there. She pointed at a slot in the jump drive assembly. The left cub carefully took the component in its mouth, hopped down to the workbench with surprising grace, and deposited it exactly where Jordan had indicated. "Good job," Jordan said, and scratched behind its ears. The cub practically vibrated with pleasure. In the observation room, Shrillik dropped his data pad. It clattered on the floor, and nobody moved to pick it up. "There. Trainable," Vexthor whispered. "They were never supposed to be trainable," Karthak said, and his voice held something that might have been wonder or might have been horror. "Everything we know about our own species juveniles is wrong." Jordan finished the final calibration with a satisfied nod. Both cubs now perched on the edge of her workbench, watching her every move with rapt attention. She wiped her hands on her jumpsuit, leaving grease smears that made the whole ensemble look even more absurd given her audience of high-ranking officials. "There we go. Jump drives fixed." She looked up at the observation window. "You guys can come in now if you want." "They're friendly." "Absolutely not," Vexthor said. "Immediately your loss." Jordan pulled out a ration bar from her pocket, broke it in half, and offered pieces to each cub. They sniffed the food carefully before accepting it with surprising delicacy. "So, Ambassador, you want to tell me why these little guys were alone in a ventilation shaft?" Creeks's scales had settled into a muted gray confusion. If Jordan's brief experience with Cathal body language was correct, they were in containment with their parents. Proper environmental controls, adequate space, nutritional protocols. Were they, though? Jordan sat on her work stool, and both cubs immediately climbed back onto her shoulders, settling in like they'd always belonged there. "Because from what they showed you," Shrillik interrupted, "they communicated specific information, sort of more like impressions. They're scared of loud noises. Containment area has this constant mechanical hum that freaks them out, and the lighting's all wrong, too bright. Wrong spectrum." Jordan scratched one cub absently. "Plus they haven't seen their parents in like 3 days. You guys separated them. Standard juvenile development protocol," Creeks said, but he sounded uncertain now. "Cubs are removed from parents at this age to prevent over-attachment. And then you wonder why they're aggressive." Jordan laughed, but there was an edge to it. "You took babies away from their parents, stuck them in a scary room with bad lighting and constant noise, and then acted surprised when they tried to escape. Observation room was silent. "They're not weapons," Jordan continued. "They're kids. Traumatized kids who needed someone to actually pay attention to them instead of treating them like biological hazards." Creeks moved closer to the window, his massive form casting shadows across the workshop. "Human Jordan, if what you're saying is correct, then our entire approach to juvenile rearing is probably causing the aggression you're trying to prevent." Jordan finished. "Yeah, that's." Kryax trailed off. "We've done this for generations. Doesn't make it right." Jordan stood up, and the cubs adjusted their positions automatically, balancing perfectly. "Look, I'm not trying to insult your culture or whatever, but maybe, and I'm just throwing this out there, maybe try asking the cubs what they need instead of assuming they're mindless killing machines." She walked toward the door, and the observation room collectively held its breath. The door slid open. Jordan stepped into the corridor, cubs still perched on her shoulders, and headed toward the containment sector. Behind her, the entire command staff scrambled to follow at a safe distance. "Where are you going?" Vexthor called out, taking them back to their parents. Where else, the parents are even more dangerous than the cubs. Yeah, well, they're probably worried sick. Jordan didn't slow down. Besides the cubs, trust me, that should count for something, right? Crix fell into step beside her, well behind her at a careful distance. The adult Krathal are fully mature apex predators. They've been confined for months. They will be in a highly aggressive state, or they're desperate to see their kids again. Jordan glanced at him. Which one do you think is more likely? The ambassador had no answer. They reached the containment sector where two massive Krathal adults paced behind energy barriers. Each one was easily the size of an earth elephant, with scales like obsidian and claws that could rend steel. The moment they saw the cubs, they pressed against the barriers, making deep resonant calls. The cubs on Jordan's shoulders responded immediately, chirping frantically. They're calling for each other, Jordan said quietly. Still think they're non-social. She approached the barrier controls. Every alien in the corridor raised their weapons. I'm going to lower the barrier, Jordan announced. Nobody shoot anything. That's suicide, Grodd. No, Jordan said, and hit the release. That's reuniting a family. The barriers dropped. The adult Krathal surged forward and stopped dead when Jordan held up one hand. Easy, she said softly. Your babies are okay. They're right here. The cubs leaped from her shoulders, racing to their parents with joyful chirps. The adults immediately gathered them close with surprising gentleness, checking them over with careful movements. Then both adults turned to Jordan. Vexthor said, run, but the adults weren't attacking. They were bowing their heads, a gesture of deep respect. In Krathal body language, Jordan smiled and bowed back. You're welcome. Commander Vexthor's incident report would eventually span 47 pages, most of which attempted to explain how a human mechanic had solved a diplomatic crisis while fixing a jump drive. The actual report Jordan filed was considerably shorter. Cubs were scared, gave them scratches, fixed jump drive clocking out. She submitted it from her workshop 3 days later, after the station had finally stopped treating her like she discovered fire. The Galactic Council had called an emergency session. The Krathal home world was in upheaval. Dr. Shrillik had burned his doctoral thesis and started over from scratch. Jordan was more concerned about the hydraulic fluid leak in Bay 7. Mechanic Jordan. Cax's voice came through her calm. The Council wishes to offer you a position as interspecies relations consultant. The compensation would be not interested, Jordan said, sliding under a cargo shuttle. I'm a mechanic, but your skills with, yeah, I gave some scared kids ear scratches and told their parents where they were. That's not exactly consultant level work. She paused. Although you guys really should redesign those containment units. Want me to send you some specs? There was a long silence. Then you would do that? Sure, just don't put my name on anything official. I hate paperwork. The adult Krathal had left her a gift before being transferred to their new Jordan-approved habitat, a chunk of crystalline metal alloy that the station's metallurgist had nearly fainted over, worth approximately 3 million credits, rare enough that wars had been fought over smaller pieces. Jordan was using it as a paperweight. Vexthor had stopped questioning human logic entirely. He'd updated the station protocols to include human intervention as a primary response for biological threats which had seemed Insane until a Rixian swarm ship arrived, and Jordan convinced them to leave by sharing her lunch. How did you know they were just hungry? He'd asked. They kept eyeing my sandwich, Jordan had replied like this was obvious. The xenobiology department was incomplete. Reformation. Shrillik had started a new research initiative, reconsidering classified species through human interaction methodology. He'd asked Jordan to co-author the paper. She declined, citing her busy schedule of fixing things that people broke. Jordan Gra appeared in the workshop doorway, looking nervous. We have a situation in Cargo Bay 12. What kind of situation? The new arrivals, they're from Sector 9. Classified as extremely dangerous. He hesitated. They've been aggressive since they came aboard, and standard protocols aren't working. The containment team wants to use force, but after the Krathul incident, the commander thought, maybe you want me to go talk to them. Jordan emerged from under the shuttle, wiping her hands. If you're willing. Jordan grabbed her tool belt and a spare ration bar. What species? The six-limbed apex predators with psychic abilities. They've already injured 2 guards. Psychic, huh? Jordan headed for the door. That's new. What's there? Environmental needs, high humidity, low light temperature around. Let me guess. Jordan interrupted. You've got them in standard containment, bright lights, dry air, constant monitoring. Gra's silence was answer enough. Yeah. That would make me cranky too. Jordan started down the corridor. Come on. Let's go see what they actually need. You're not even slightly concerned. Jordan laughed. Gra, I had 2 cubs that could kill trained soldiers napping on my shoulders while I fixed a jump drive. A couple of stressed out they. Tuesday, behind her, Gra updated his personal log. Human Jordan continues to treat galaxy-ending threats as minor inconveniences. Recommend therapy for me, not her. In the observation room overlooking Cargo Bay 12, Vexter watched Jordan approach the containment unit. 6 snarling, the pressed against the barriers, their psychic projections battering against everyone's minds like angry waves. Jordan walked up to the barrier and waved. Hey there, you guys. Look uncomfortable. Want to tell me what's wrong? The Thrick stopped snarling. One of them tilted its head, psychic projections shifting from aggression to curiosity. Oh, for the love of Vexter, started updating protocols again. Someone get me the xenoanthropology department and a psychiatrist. Definitely the psychiatrist. Jordan had already pulled out her ration bar and was breaking it into pieces. So, she said conversationally to the Thyrex, who's hungry? The galaxy, Vexter reflected, would never be the same. In her workshop later, Jordan would find a new message on her terminal. Job offers from 17 different governments, a request from the Galactic Council for her official testimony, 3 research institutions wanting her DNA. She deleted all of them and pulled up the maintenance schedule. Bay 7 still had that hydraulic leak and somebody had to fix it. The cubs visited sometimes, their parents bringing them by on supervised excursions. They'd chirp at Jordan through the window and she'd wave back between repairs. Just another day on Station Kadrath, where a human mechanic had accidentally revolutionized xenobiology by being nice to scared kids. Jordan wouldn't have it any other